Hi, my name is Daryl Phillips, owner of Noir Apologia Gaming, and today we're going to begin a series of videos on the steps. It starts with cleaning your house. Like, subscribe, share, follow. All the links are below. Hit the bell for notifications if you want to be aware of when we put up more content. Go to bipolarize.net if you want to be aware of what we're doing here, and so that you can understand our passion and how deeply this runs. These issues, mental illness and homelessness and those sorts of things, are very, very important to us because we live that life. I have bipolar and PTSD and Dwan with homeless. You guys ready to go clean your house? Come on, let's go. Check this out. This first step is the most important step because nothing can happen until this one happens. This is probably the longest step as well. It's also the most difficult and scariest step. But once you learn how to do it properly, once you do things the right way, remember, right, not fast. This cannot happen fast because it has to be done right. Once you learn how to order your stuff together, once you learn how to understand your history, your own history, not history of the earth, then it will make your life a lot easier. So that when you tidy up, as I call it, in other words, basically dealing with the problems as they come at you instead of having to deal with all this stuff in the past. So check this out. Think of it like this. All of these steps, beginning with this one, is like building a house. You have to have a foundation. You cannot put the walls and that kind of thing before you put the foundation. It's really as simple as that. One thing that's very important about this particular step too, you cannot do this without help. There is no way. Because you can't judge yourself by yourself. You have to have someone that knows a little bit about you, specifically someone that you can trust, that you can tell things to. You're supposed to be carrying your ingredients. So you're supposed to already have your advisor. You're supposed to have the person you move into so that you can do this properly. So what I'm going to be showing you today is how to properly dig into your past, compartmentalize that past, learn from it, and make sure that you don't live in it. So you guys ready to clean your house? Come on, let's go. So what you want to do now is you want to start digging into your past. This is the most tedious, the most difficult thing you will ever do. And if you have problems like I did, you're going to have a lot of crying, a lot of anger. If you drink alcohol and you do drugs, you're probably going to do a lot of it, to be honest with you. And my advice to you is the same thing that AA says about everything else that they try to do. If you're trying to stop everything at the same time, you're not going to be able to accomplish it. So if you need alcohol at first to dig into your past, it's not recommended and you want to try not to do that. And in the future, you want to try not to be drunk when you're doing this. You want to try to do this sober so you really truly get something done. But at first, it can be so difficult that you can't. In my case, I had to have it. And Sophia had to watch me beat myself up and get angry and get depressed. And in my case, I have PTSD, so sometimes I would even have blackouts. It was hard, it hurt, it was tedious, and I never thought I would accomplish it. Where you want to start is at a point in which you think something in your life happened that you think is a problem now. And what you probably are going to discover is that wasn't even the original problem, that the original problem started even earlier than that. Let me give you an example. I've told this story a couple times, but it's worth using it as an example because it's true. The first place I started was the terrible thing that happened between me and my son. I had him taken away. The reason being is I made an inexcusable mistake, and that mistake cost me any sort of parental rights, anything. I walked into a liquor store, instead of talking about my issues, I walked in and bought a pint of vodka and proceeded to drink it. Guess I passed out on the bus, and that was history. What I discovered though, as I was going through this process, was it was already too late. That the chips were in motion and they were coming to an end, that I was going to get shattered at some point, even if it wasn't that. It did not matter what the actual scenario was in reality. This started a few years earlier. And in reality, it started really when my mom died. I never recovered fully and never dealt with her death and I never really knew about it. And then Jacqueline died, my sister, and I really had problems. So what you're gonna probably discover about yourself is that there are things about your past you have never dealt with. Now, that's important to understand because if you don't deal with your past, you will repeat the mistakes. So you could be in a situation now that you go, why do I keep getting in this relationship? Why do I keep doing this? Why do I keep going in and out of jail or hospitals? And you need to figure out why these things are happening. And maybe it even goes back to when you were younger. So that's where you have to start. You have to start with digging into your past. Once you start digging through your past, you can't just throw it somewhere and then forget that you talked about it. You have to compartmentalize it. Maybe write it down. Do everything possible to remember what you're discussing as you're going. I mean, I don't write so much as I vent properly. And again, this is another one of those things where you have to carry your ingredients. So you have to talk to your advisor. You have to vent. So they're going to be able to give you advice, specifically the person you're talking to, honestly. And of course, if you don't have somebody, probably go get a counselor for this. But in the end, it's up to you to decide where to put things. Well, the first thing you need to do is you have to decipher the good and the bad. Now, that sounds like a strange one because you should know what bad and good is, right? Let me tell you a story. Sometimes like I said, the bad gets mixed up with the good because you've told yourself that you're a bad person for a long, long time. In my case, I literally thought my good sides were curses. I thought, how could I be smart and be homeless? How can I be this and be this? Until I learned how to decipher the difference between good and bad in my life, I truly thought my good sides were bad. And it's crazy, right? You think, well, it's crazy. Well, I kind of was. Which is why you have to get help. When I met Sophia, I was like that. I saw nothing good in me. And even the good stuff that people kept pointing out, I would roll my eyes and I didn't understand. So it was really difficult not only to deal with my past, but also deal with what's inside me. I thought it was a monster. How could monsters be good? So nothing that I did was good, and therefore I was bad. When you tell yourself stuff like that, you are going to be bad. So the idea is you have to decipher what's good about you and what's bad. What are you good at and what are clearly bad things? So learn how to compartmentalize, because if you don't, you will not be able to organize it correctly, and you'll just keep repeating the same thing over and over again, right? Okay, so check this out. As you're going through your past, you need to be learning from this process, specifically from your past. This is not an exercise in pain and suffering, so you're not supposed to be going through this pain and suffering without learning from it, or what's the point? How this works is like this. You take something from your past, and start there. Wherever you decide to start is fine. Take that thing, analyze everything that happened during that time. The people you're around, the events that led up to that situation, and so forth and so on. And as you dig further, you should be learning more and more about what happened and how you can prevent those kind of things in the future. And then you're supposed to be applying it. So take, for example, bits and pieces of my life. Like I said, when I started this was about when I got shattered. But when I started digging further, I realized that this was so much deeper than that. That was just a consequence of what was already happening to me. I wasn't talking about my issues. I wasn't venting to anyone. I wasn't taking advice from anyone reliable. And even when I did have someone reliable, I wasn't listening to it. I sure wasn't thinking about advice, and I most certainly felt alone, and I had no ambition. I was carrying no ingredients, none. I wasn't trying to clean my house. I wasn't trying to fill it up with good things. I definitely wasn't trying to get better at the things I was good at, and I most certainly was not going outside my box, and I definitely didn't analyze the situation. I was carrying no ingredients, and I was following no steps. I had no direction whatsoever. That's what I discovered. In every instance, that's true. At no point did I make a mistake because, oops, it happened. These were things I did. One of the things that I'm trying to teach you guys is you don't have to do it that way. There can be an organization to this process. Step one is very painful. You're going to cry an ocean of tears, but you also need to be having the biggest education you've ever had in your life about yourself. That way you can continue on with the next steps. This process is long, and honestly, there's going to be days you're going to want to give up, so you need to be learning from it. Don't waste your time on it if you're not going to try to learn from it. This isn't about staying in your past and having nostalgia. Okay, this is specifically about discovery and learning. So learn from it. So as you're going through this process of digging into your past and processing it properly, putting it in the right spots, learning how to use it, there's going to be some times that you're going to remember a good memory. By the way, I recommend it. I recommend that you also include your positive memories too, so that you can take that and use it for the now. However, you're going to be tempted to live in your past sometimes, especially the good memories, and really the bad memories as well, but in a different way. You do not want to build a hotel in your past, as it were. You don't want to check in and decide to do some debauchery in your past. Maybe you're getting older and maybe you missed out on a lot of girls you regret not being with. And so now you're thinking about, oh my God, and you remember it, and that's all great to reminisce. It helps you move forward. However, to live in it is terribly damaging to yourself. I'll tell you now, if you drink, we all know what happens. If you drink and you're depressed, you want anything to feel better. So not only are you drinking, you are also living in your past a lot of times. I did that so much that I owned land there. Not really joking. And it wasn't moving forward. You have to continue to move forward, see. It's not just about dealing with your issues and living them. You are a new person. You're not going to go back in your past and change things. I'll tell you a bad habit I used to get into. I'd sit there and I'd get myself angry, or I would get angry about something, and I would sit there and devise ways I could change it. And I would go back and I would do this or say this to this person. Now, every normal person understands that, but it gets blown up tenfold if you have bipolar disorder and PTSD like I do. You end up thinking the wrong thoughts. You end up feeling good about yourself when you did nothing. And then the next day you wake up and you have a hangover and your life is crap again. It's bad. Do not live in your past. So I hope you guys understand the importance of cleaning your house, of digging into your past, of making sure that you're learning from it, that you're separating the bad stuff from the good stuff. And in the end, it is vital to the rest of everything else you're trying to do. You cannot possibly think that you can deal with life without having dealt with your past. Some people think that you just ignore your past. That isn't healthy, it's also not human. You will make the same mistakes again if you do it that way. The way I show you how to do this is a process. It's slow, it's steady, it's painful. You will cry. You will cry more than you have ever cried in your life, especially if you're like me. Some of the stuff that I was ignoring at the time was unimaginable. And the fact that I even lived as long as I did back then, I just don't know how I did it. And so now I do that. And now all I have to do is clean what's in front of me now. So when I deal with an issue, I deal with it now. You know what I mean? I don't hold it in, that kind of thing. So think about that. So be safe when you're traveling from here to there. Be safe when you get there. You know, this world's crazy sometimes and bad things happen sometimes. So just be aware of your surroundings. Be understanding of one another, not just from your perspective, but from theirs as well. And also be understanding of your own limits. You have to be understanding of the things that you can and cannot do. Don't take it too far, because if you do, you don't want to be homeless because you helped a bunch of people with money. You also don't want to get depressed when someone else is depressed because you can't handle how much baggage that they're putting on you, right? And remember, not everybody knows how to take that first step. Not everybody knows what we're learning here today. They don't know how to clean their house, and they sure don't know the next ones either. But if you see someone trying to take that step, help them. Don't let them flounder about in the fog. Remember that life is fleeting. You are not promised your next breath. You're just not. It's one of those lessons that you don't get when you're younger, but you will when you're older. So don't leave things unattended to. Don't let the sun go down on your anger, because you never know when it may be the last time you see that person. So do things now. Get better now. Help people now. Remember to go to bipolarized.net to find out why we do this, why this stuff is so important. It's important not to abandon people just because they made mistakes, just because they're homeless and so forth and so on. It's really our passion, and it's why we do what we do, to try to help. And remember to hit the bell for notifications, be updated when we put up another video. So until next time, may the Lord light guide you in all things. Goodbye.